I'm not gonna lie, I think one of the worst feelings in life is being in debt or owing somebody money. It's one of the worst feelings and gives you a lot of anxiety. And I am in a position where I am about $18,000 in credit card debt. I know it sounds crazy. How did that happen? Bunch of bad decisions over the last couple of years that got me to this point, and I just wanted to share my experience with having that amount of debt and like what is my plan on getting out of it. So in order to understand how we got here, I need to lay this out, right? Because when you have a lot of debt or you owe people money, it obviously that doesn't happen overnight, right? It happens with not being experienced with money or not being really financially illiterate, but it also comes with a couple of bad decisions and just not being educated on like how credit cards work and etc. Right? So about I want to say this started about I want to say maybe 4 years ago, right? Like I said before in previous videos, that like I was working my way up in my production experience background and etc. And then I had to do a couple of pivots. Then I ended up landing a job again 4 years ago that was like a pretty good job. It was a rental house, a photo rental house, a pretty big one. If you ever bought a camera from somewhere and it's used gear, that's the place. I'm not gonna say the name, but if you know, you know. And I believe my starting salary at this job was $40,000 at the time. Again, this was about 4 years ago. And then I was getting promoted, and then I got promoted up to where I was making $47,000. Now, at the time, I was living with my ex fiance, my partner, who I also got her a job there where she was making equal amount. So together, we were making almost 90. We were bringing in an income of $90,000. Again, had good savings. I was doing production jobs on the side, and life was good. Again, we were able to do a bunch of stuff and etc. Right, but up until that point, I never had a credit card. I always stood away from them. We learned about it a little bit in high school, but again, when you're in high school, you don't really understand certain things and you don't really care about certain things. But I never had a credit card, right? It was also never taught to me by my parents really on like what credit cards are and how to use them. Again, this is no fault on their own, but it just was never taught to me, right? I never like looked up financial books or etc. And again, I think around this time I was like 23, 24, something like that. So making this amount of money, had a good savings, and I guess the bank that I was banking with like saw the income I was bringing. I don't even know how this worked, but one day I just got offered my first credit card of a credit card line of $3,000. I seen it and I was like, oh, that looks cool. I'm gonna accept it, right? So then there you go. I have a credit card of $3,000, right? I remember telling my mom about it, and then she was like, "Oh, that means you must be like making something if they're gonna give you that, but be careful." And I was like, "No, I have the money, of course. Like I'm gonna be careful. I'm not even gonna use it like that, etc., etc." So then, I think right after that offer, I also got an Amazon credit card that was for $2,000. I believe it was $2,000, like to buy anything on Amazon. So I believe those were the two cards at the time. Now this is where the problem starts, right? Because at the time, we were going on, I believe we booked a trip to go to Florida for a family vacation. First family vacation I was ever able to go on, big boy money. Like I'm taking my fiance and my son out to Florida for like a week and etc. Right? So a lot of things happened in between when we booked that trip. Maybe we booked it like maybe I want to see, let's say like a month out, 2 months out. But then my fiance lost her job at this place, right? So if we had to cancel any flights or whatever, we wouldn't have got the money back on like what we put down, right? So that was number one. So it was like, oh, we already booked this trip. We're always like trying to delay stuff. So I was like, let's just go. It doesn't matter. Let's go because I don't want to lose the money. But then at the very same time, stuff that we were doing on the trip was now being placed on the credit card, the main credit card, right? We even like got to the airport and we had to pay like a luggage fee of like $300 extra because the bag was bigger than what it was supposed to. It was a bag that I didn't pack. You know how women are when they pack their bags. I put that on the credit card. Didn't think much of it. And then, at the same time, like now as I'm thinking about it, like I also lost that same job, or I left that job. That's like a whole other story for like a different day, which is like, that's a whole, this goes into like why you don't chase women or try to do things to validate somebody else, because obviously it bites you in the butt. But again, nobody else's fault but my own. So then that was also the second problem. I lost that job. and etc. And then the things on the Amazon card that was being bought was things for my production company at the time. Now again, like, we have all this money, but now that one income got lost and then the other income got lost, and I actually like switched to a different job that was like paying way less than this job was. So then it came to a point where, like, all the money that was spent, now we really can't, now I can't really keep up with the payments, because now my good paying job is now like a minimum wage job, and now I'm stuck with like credit card debt. Right now interest is building over time, I can't pay it, and now the struggle is starting to happen. Right now, what makes this situation even worse is that I was still getting minimum credit cards, right? Like small ones, like $500 offers and etc. And I believe I had about two extra ones. It was like 500 each. I ended up taking out those cards to be able to pay for essentials at the time, but also I took out another one to try to invest in the business that I was building, because how I thought about it was like, hey, look, if I gamble just like $300 here, I can get a production job that is more than what I put in. So let me take out this credit card, because I was very confident on, like, I was able to get a job. And like, actually, funny enough, later on, that's how I actually got my $40,000 contract. But as you can see, it started with, them giving you the credit card. Then some life event happens where, like, you have to switch a job, or you're making stupid decisions. You already like bought things on this card, and then now you're taking out more cards to try to stop the bleeding that's going on. Right, the bleeding should have stopped. Like, just stop taking out credit cards and stop doing this and that. Right, but again, we were living by ourselves, and like, rent needed to be paid, things need to be taken care of. So it's like, now the interest is building on these credit cards, and I need to focus on like the here and the now, which is like making sure there's food in the fridge, making sure that I could get to the job that I need to get to, and like little things like that. So that is how we got here. Now on top of that, again, I'm not at that apartment no more, but thankfully, like, the landlords was letting me stay there even though I was behind on payments. So not only the credit cards is an issue, but now back rent is an issue as well too, which is fine. Again, this is like part of the reason why I'm staying with my mom, because I have a plan to get out of this, and I think it is going to work, because I already paid off like one credit card, right? So like, you got to start small and go big, right? But yeah, that's how things snowball, right? So there's a couple of lessons learned here, right? One, you need to be you need to do your research when it comes to accepting any offers, or like how certain things work, right? And this has happened to me before. Like, if I do a decision and I don't have a lot of research or acknowledgement in it, then that's kind of what fucks me later, right? So like, at this point in time, whenever I do a decision, I always do like my research all around it, like what that would look like and what the future will look like, right? So that's number one. Number two is, credit cards, they're good to have, right? But like, why do you need multiple different ones, right? Like, you should probably just have one for emergencies only, or to just build your credit up. So that's what they said in high school. I remember this one teacher, he said, like, if you're open up a very, very small one, and then the phone bill that you have, just put it on there, and then like, the minute like the money gets taken out from the credit card, you would have the money from your actual regular income and just pay that off the next day, just to build your credit up and build your credit score up, right? So that's how it should have been. It shouldn't have been 5 different credit cards and etc. And then also trying to save yourself with another credit card to try to gamble doesn't make any sense. Again, I know some people are gonna be like, well, that's so stupid, why would you do that? This is why. Again, I was 24, 23, not having any financial literacy, right? I think also the problem with how my life has went with a couple of things is that, like, I always ran into a big amount of money early, and like, I've had to struggle my way out of things, again, like getting my first apartment and then getting to my next apartment, but there was never really no crazy struggles like this, right? So I think that, like, when you run into a huge amount of money, whether it's a salary, a contract, you're not gonna know how money really works. Like, you just think that money comes easy, and you think that nothing could really hurt you because it's what you're always used to, right? And that's what I've been reflecting on as well too. It's just like, I don't want to say I've always had things easy, but because I worked hard when I was younger, I've never been in the position to experience, like, things like this, like a credit card or back rent or etc., right? So yeah, that's basically how I got here. but like by making stupid decisions and not doing my research on it, right? But the plan is, so again, since I am here with my mom, right? Again, this is something that she's aware of and she understands. And again, as I'm here and doing everything else that I'm supposed to, I'm learning finances, right? Like for example, like I want to get a car, right? I know not to finance a car. I know not to lease a car. I'm buying a car with cash, at a very, very, $5,000, $6,000 the most cash, with nothing else going on. The only thing that I want to be paying for is insurance. I don't want to be paying for a car and an interest and all that stuff. I just want things to be paid off for. I don't want anything that needs to be paid off monthly if I don't need it to, because that means I don't have it. And I always knew a rule that I forgot. It was if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. And that is something that I stuck with when I was younger. And again, over time, like I just forgot about it. I lost it, right? So that was like a big rule to me. If you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it, right? Don't also pay for things in monthly installments, because that means you also can't afford it. So all this, I forgot that app where like the pay now, pay later apps. Don't do those either, because again, those do come with interest, but also too, like, you don't want to have money coming out your account that doesn't need to come out monthly, right? You can't afford it, right? So basically, like, what my plan is right now, right, is again, I am living with my parent, and I am helping out and doing as much as I can here. Again, my mom is very understanding with my whole situation, right? So any income that I get in as of right now, I treat it as if it's not my income, right? Because it's not, because I'm in debt, right? So if I am land a job, or if I have any other contracts come in, or whatever may have you, right? That money is not mine. It's like my tax return that did come, right? I did file, and then I used a chunk of that to pay off my first credit card, right? And it's funny enough, because that credit card company, the smaller one, was actually trying to take me to court for, and I think on that card it was like $648, and then the interest went up to almost $1,000, right? So, which sucks, but this needed to get handled, because I don't, obviously I don't want to go to court for this, right? But also too, like, this also needs to be like taken care of, right? So I was actually really proud of that. Like, I got my first, like, out of the 5 cards that I have, one got dealt with, and it was the smallest one, which is fine. I don't have to deal with that. Now any other money that I have coming in is going straight to paying off the debt, right? Any income that I have is not mine, because again, I am in a position where I can do that, because I'm not paying rent in here and there. Now obviously I do have kids to take care of, and etc., and they're being taken care of and stuff like that, but also, I would have to send money to their mom and etc., which she's working with me with, again, because like this is a situation that like we are both learning how to live without each other, but also do this stuff. But we also have to be understanding to each other's situation. Again, if I can't fix this debt problem, then there's no way I could ever really support the kids fully, right? Which is, I think, makes a lot of sense, right? Once this is done, all my income is mine, and then I could give you higher amounts. I could do what I want to do, invest, and etc. But in order for that to happen, this needs to happen now. And again, since I'm living with somebody else right now, I have to take advantage of that opportunity to climb out of what I'm climbing out of. And again, that's how I was able to pay off the first credit card. So I have plans with money coming in to be able to take out my other cards, because like some of them did settle. So but instead of it being like, for example, like $3,000 to pay back one card, the card company settled like for $1,000, right? It's just I need to get that done in a specific amount of time, which I think for me is in April for 2 cards, right? So if I'm able to like get an income and just act like it's not mine, and just suck it up for a month or so, that could be done, and then anything else coming in is mine, and now I could like invest, or I can invest into my education to move into my other industry and etc., right? So that's my plan right now. Again, it isn't like something that is a solid thing, but again, any income, if you are in debt and you're able to act like majority of your income is not yours, I think that is something that needs to be taken care of like right away, because I was ignoring it after a while. I'm like, oh, maybe it would go away and stuff like that, but like it's not gonna go away, because they're gonna try to come after you and try to sue you over $600, $700, and then now you have to like pay court fees and then do this and that. It doesn't make any sense, right? So definitely like make it up front and center that you are in debt, right? And then any money that you do get is not yours. pay them off as fast as possible, as much as you can do. And that's something where you might have to work two jobs and stuff like that, because that's what I'm currently doing. Again, I'm still young. I still have a lot of energy. I have a lot of energy, right? So it's like, not only am I looking for something full time, I'm also looking for something overnight as well. Also on the weekends, every other weekend, like just to get as much money as possible, just to fix this shit right away, just so I can just have more leverage like later on, right? And with enough energy, if you really think about it, because $18,000 is not a lot of money when it comes to debt. I know some of you are probably like, what? That's a lot. It's really not, compared to like what other people have. I've seen like people have 40, 50, $60,000 in debt. That's not something that I have, right? So it's like, I'm grateful that it isn't a number like that. But again, like, I can like work this out and like not have, I'm stopping the bleeding. That's just what it is. When you're in a financial issue, you need to stop the bleeding and take care of this stuff so the money can be yours. So yeah, that's my experience with how I'm in the situation with my credit card debt. But again, I don't have an issue with it because it's getting worked on. And again, I keep saying it, but I paid off one already, and that's that. When I did that, it was like very freeing. Again, it was the smallest amount, but I think they have a strategy where it's called the snowball debt effect, where you pay the smallest ones off, and then you just roll over that into the bigger ones, and then in a couple of years, or if you work really hard and work like a madman, you could probably get it done in a couple of months. And again, I like to be delusional with those type of things because I'd rather be delusionally positive than just gloomy reality. It's not going to help anybody. The way how I look at this is, it's a painful lesson for not experiencing this in a smaller form. I got a big credit card later on in life, and without like being really like understanding them, and it fucked me up later on, but like, this is like a lesson learned. So it's like, going forward, there is no credit card that I'm opening up like ever again, unless it's a small one where it's like $500 and it's just like for an emergency, or like building credit, very small. I'm not doing no dumb purchases. I'm not doing nothing small, no Uber Eats, no anything like that. I'm a very allergic to credit cards. And again, like, my income has to very much outmatch the credit card limit that I have, but also too, like, there needs to be money saved for a couple of months as well too, like, just in case anything happens. Again, you live and you learn. Shit happens. So that is it from me. Let me know, are you in any type of credit card debt? What is the lessons that you have had when it came to debt or credit cards? And let me know, like, what is your plan working out of your situation? Do you have a plan? Because I know, like, there are like bankruptcies and what is it called? The other, I think, what is it called? It's not Credit Karma. It's like a company that like helps you pay off per month. Things like that. National Debt Relief, because I'm also like in that as well too. But like, to be honest with you, like, instead of waiting like 3 years to pay everything off, if I have the money, I'm just gonna pay them off now, because I have the opportunity, like the leverage, to be able to do it now. So let me know your thoughts, and remember, life is a game, and I will see you in the next video.